It's always a joy to visit with Robin Mark. The Irish singer, songwriter, worship leader, and recording artist was known throughout the United Kingdom and Canada, and Europe for that matter, from really the early 90s with songs like Days of Elijah and Revival. In 1999, the album Revival in Belfast was released, and God unleashed Robin to the world. That album was still on the Billboard Top Charts, Christian Albums chart, in 2004, 5 years after its release. The follow-up album, Come Heal This Land, in 2001, went straight to #1 in the Christian retail charts in America. Robin became the first artist from the UK to accomplish this feat. I just want you to know we've got a history maker here and a world shaker, and we just love catching up with this man of international praise and worship, who, by the way, has a new album we're going to show you in a minute. But the first obvious new thing, and I nearly missed it, is on his chinny chin chin.
Yeah, it is, yes. My daughter said to me, you know, what is that? And I said, it defines my chin. And she said, no, Dad, it creates a chin. So she's like that to me, me.
She can get away with that.
She can.
First of all, because she's your firstborn.
Yes.
And she is a pediatrician.
Yeah,
she's been climbing in her medical career.
She is indeed, yes. And she's heading for consultancy, so she's very smart. I don't know where she gets it from.
Oh, I
Probably
do.
my wife. You know.
She's still at Glasgow Infirmary?
No, actually, she is now in Northern Ireland. She got a post there, so she's away down in a lovely part of the world called Enniskillen at a hospital down there in Ireland, so very pleasant.
Just hearing this is, I know, warming the cockles of hearts, watching. And we might as well catch up on the rest of the family. James, your youngest, is your sports guy.
He's a sports guy. He's now at university studying law, so he's taking a little rest from the sporting pursuits just to settle himself into the college.
Very good. And David really stepped into your shoes at the church where you are, what is your title? Emeritus Director of Worship.
That's right.
But he's there, is he there full-time?
No, he's there part-time really as well. He's a volunteer worship leader, but he's sort of doing a great job actually, and it's a pleasure to watch him, and it's actually very inspiring actually to listen to your son leading worship and taking over.
Well, as I said, at least one had to follow in Dad's footsteps.
True.
And I think David is part of your new album.
Yes, he is. He helped out in a lot of the components of it, but he also wrote one of the songs. And he presented it to me. I said, "Look, have you started writing, son?" And he said, "Yes, Dad, I've written this one." And so I took it and twisted it a little bit musically, but it works very well. It's a great song, very simple song, but very appropriate.
Robin Mark, Liberation Praise.
Yeah.
Now it says recorded live at Christian Fellowship Church.
That's right.
That is your church.
That's our church, yes, in Belfast.
But I was looking at the cool pictures inside, and you said these are in a chicken coop.
That's exactly right.
That's
exactly right. Yeah, we recorded the voices and a lot of the works in the church and in the church building, but we actually used a studio which was once the abode of chickens.
Well, that's versatility.
Yeah, we had to kick the chickens out just to do it. So it made it a very pleasant experience.
Well, we love your sound. We love what you do, and I don't know if you have a percentage breakdown on how much of the time you spend actually leading worship, leading people in worship, and how much time you spend mentoring current and future worship leaders.
That changes. I think you get to a point where, I remember someone saying to me, actually, you know, you're becoming a father of worship leaders, and I didn't like the sound of that, actually. You know, I thought, well, I don't really want to become the father of, but I think what happens is eventually you reach a point where it gives you more joy to see a new generation coming up and to feed into them and watch them develop and see them take on the role that God has for them. And you actually, in spite of yourself, do become almost like a father to them, because you're watching them grow and develop, and you get more pleasure out of that than you actually get sometimes out of doing it yourself. So there is that transition. But
the secret of midlife, generativity.
Oh, that's a good word.
That was Eric Erickson. Yes. I just, you know, I was looking back, and it's really worth a look back to your last visit, which is on our website. And you were making some interesting projections about
Yes.
where
yes.
worship is going.
Yeah.
And I mean, in this crazy, distracted world. Years and years ago, I'm digressing a little.
Yeah.
I read an article, and it was a cover of a Christian magazine, Worship, the missing jewel in
Yeah.
the church's crown.
Yeah.
I'll bet you read that article.
I
too,
did
Rob.
actually. They based that on A.W. Tozer's sermon, and that he gave that sermon at one point way back in the 1960s. Thought that the church was doing everything wonderful, really good, all its missions, all its training, its education, but he thought the missing jewel was that the worship again. And I think what's happened now is that churches are beginning to engage in worship, create the songs that the church will sing. And I think it's become more of a generic thing right across the churches. There's lots of people. I just finished a festival there for songwriters, and there's songwriters that are unknown, but they're part of their church and they're writing the songs for their church, and the church is singing them. There's no desire to be famous or to become a recording artist. No, it's just, take the church's experience, reflect it in worship, and give God the glory. And I think that's where we're going, and it's a good thing.
Ooh, and you get the feel of just how generic that would be. This is a member of our community.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Singing what's coming from our
Exactly.
experience as
Exactly.
a community.
Because actually any song that I have ever written which has been any good always came from the experience of our church and being part of it and seeing where we were and our country, of course. So it's funny, God uses the things that come out of you because of your experience, I think, to bless people and to assist them in their experience. So it's win-win every time.
Boy, you're taking my thoughts all over the place. Paul in Romans said, I won't venture to speak about anything except what Christ has made
Yes,
real in my
absolutely.
life.
Yeah.
And if it comes from the heart, it's
Yeah.
going to reach the heart.
It reaches the heart. You're absolutely right. And I think that's it. And it's strange. I mean, I do get the odd time, and this is a confession, where someone said to me, we need another track for that album. And so you create a song quickly. And I've had people come to me and said, I like this song. And I say, I didn't write that. And they say, oh, you did? There's your name. And I've forgotten it completely. And it's one of those songs that you didn't do out of experience, but the songs that last and the words that last, as Paul the Apostle said, are those which come from your heart, and they do impact the heart of the listeners and generations, of course. We're reading his works from thousands of years ago.
Yes, indeed, generations. And, well, how many decades have you been doing this?
I'm probably into my fourth decade, which is frightening, just at the start of the fourth decade. But yeah, I started leading worship in my own church really in the 1980s. And that was when I joined Christian Fellowship Church, where many of my albums have come from. And here we are in the, whatever these are, the teenies, is that what we call them? Or?
Yeah. I don't keep up with that, but I'll tell you, one of many of your songs that's woven into my soul, when it's all been said and done.
Yeah.
I can hardly say it without losing it. There's just one thing that matters. Did I do my best to live for truth? Did I live my life for you?
Yeah.
And there's a question coming out of this, now that I've got it out. Truth.
Yeah.
To live for truth, to celebrate truth.
Yes, yeah.
Even in the Christian arena.
Yes.
That can be a battleground.
Yes, it is a battleground, I think. And it is, I have another song where I actually say, I'm asking God that He gives me the grace to actually express the truth of His Word so that people know it, but that aren't hurt or offended by the way that it's said. Because
Exactly.
truth, even Christ was asked the question, when He said, you'll know the truth, and Pontius Pilate said, well, what is truth? It's a difficult thing, but I think for us, we have this tenet of Scripture, and the truth is there, and it's just a matter of having the grace and the ability to present the truth to this broken world. And one of the truths, of course, is, if you like the title of this album, is that Jesus sets you free, that whatever binds, whatever holds you back, whatever chains are on your life, He brings liberation. And so it is that, it's getting the truth out and touching the heart. And you're right. Sometimes the truth does offend, I suppose, and that's what we have to live with. But maybe we restrict our offence as much as we possibly can.
Well, there'll be no offense in what we're about to hear. Robin, we're so thrilled to have you, and we're going to hear about that guiding light. You've written this one. Actually, you've written almost everything that's on the
Just about.
CD. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.